This video will show you how to find marriage records in Family Search and give you some examples of marriage records and what to look for on those records. Okay, I want to show you how to find marriage records. Very similar to finding birth records and many other records that I've showed you in previous videos, but you just go over here, you click on search records, come to the title and say marriage is, and spell it right here, and we can come down and you could put Alabama or Illinois or whatever country or whatever state, and the different marriage records comes up. So this way you can just kind of glance through them, but let's try Illinois marriages, and there you have Illinois marriages. There's church records. So that's one of the fastest ways, is to again use search and records. Let's go to the catalog. So again, I choose the online, and let's do Indiana. If I go to Indiana, and down here it will have vital records. I can see if I have any. I did not look at this before. So miscellaneous newspapers. Sometimes you have to go to the counties for the marriage. Here's Indiana marriages right here. Collection of records, Indiana marriages. So if we want to do a specific county, we know that somebody lived in a specific county. So I had family that was in Morgan, Indiana. So I type that in and click on it and update. And down here again, vital records, and we will look and see if they have any marriage. Here's marriage records, 1925 to 1954. Here's 1972. Anyway, so that's how you can find databases that are online that are in Family Search using those two methods. Now, if you're not sure what you're looking for, you have other questions, you can go to Family Search wiki page and type in marriage records. Oh, helps if I spell it correctly. Yes, I mean marriage records. Okay, United States marriage records. And then it tells you up here what's going to be down here, how to find state marriage records, bans, bonds. So there's difference between bans and bonds and licenses. So you can read on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about licenses. I may do something on bonds and bans in this video. Okay, so then we have the different states. So I actually have gone to Missouri already. Well, let's go finish through here. So here's marriage records. It tells you here again marriage, bans, bonds, license, consent papers. Now these consent papers are when a person was underage, they'd had to have a parent or guardian that had to sign something giving them approval to be married. Certificates, return and registers. And it tells you all about marriage records, church records. You can go through and read whatever it is you have questions on. I wanted to go to the Missouri one. So I had clicked on Missouri, how to find Missouri marriage records. Okay, and right here at the top of these for the states, it says 1821 Missouri law required counties to record marriages. So if you're a couple married in Missouri before 1821, you're probably not going to find any record of it. But if it was after 1821 or after, you are likely to be able to find a record of their marriage. And then in 1881, those clerks were required to send it to the state. So the state might actually have a copy of the record if it was 1881 or after that. And it also tells you that Missouri marriage records are not restricted and can be ordered by anyone during any period of time. So you can contact the counties and see if you can pay to get a copy of the record. Then down here they give you databases, and it tells you a little bit. This is on Ancestry. It tells you that marriages from 1805 to 2002, and then they can click on it here, and it tells you here that it costs money. Some of these down here are going to cost you to be able to search them. And then it tells you the number of records. So this one has 5 million, almost 6 million records on it. So let's see what down here we have. Just obtaining a record, how to obtain one, and see if there's anything else on here. That marriage indexes. So these are databases up there. These are databases with indexes. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this. You can take the time to go through whichever state you want and look through the information that they have. And I have another tab here. Oh, and now I've forgotten. I went through this before. I'll just put in Indiana marriages. Okay, Indiana marriages. So here we have in Family Search, tells us a little bit about the collections. Browse this collection. Okay, now down here it tells you prior to 1882 marriage date. So their records, it doesn't look like were kept until 1882. So a little bit different than the Missouri page. And this is kind of nice because it tells you the different counties on this one. And what did it say up here? Records. So this one has 39,000 records, marriage records. Anyways, use Wiki. It is a great resource in finding out information just on how to research. It doesn't give you the actual records themselves, but it tells you where to go and where you might find information. Every state requires a person to get a marriage license before they are actually married. Many times the license date is confused with the marriage date. Each state has different requirements for the marriage license. Some require a couple to wait for a specific time period before they can get married. The majority of states allow couples to get married immediately after getting the license, but some require you to wait 3 to 5 days. To find the requirements for each state, just search for marriage license and marriage record information for all states or just for the state that you need to know the information about. This is a marriage certificate, which is proof that the couple did get married. The couple is required to return proof of their marriage to obtain the marriage certificate. I decided it might be a good idea to go ahead and show you one of these charts that I found when I Googled these state marriage information. So here's Alabama. No blood test, no period for waiting. How soon can you marry? After receiving the license, you can go get your license and immediately get married, but you only have 30 days. After that, you have to apply for a new license. So here's Alaska. You have to wait 3 days after you get your license, and you have 3 months before you have to renew for another license. Now look at Arizona. You have a whole year. You can go get a license, and you have a year before you can have to get a new license. So you can see it's different from state to state. And so just depending on which state you're in or where you're getting married, you need to know what those are. Now, how long these rules have existed, I am not sure. This is the marriage license and certificate for my grandparents. A few years ago, I wrote to the county to find out about my grandparents' marriage. A short time later, they sent me the actual license and certificate. They had a letter saying that they were digitizing all their records and they were giving family members the original copies. How cool was that? I was pretty excited. There is often a difference of information on the license and the certificate. In this case, the license gives my grandparents' ages, place of birth, and their parents' names. We see that Montana had no waiting time because they got the license the same day that they got married. Both were on August 10th. The marriage certificate has 2 witnesses. These witnesses are often relatives, so you might want to research the people who were witnesses. In this case, Agnes was a friend of my grandmother, and Kenneth was my grandmother's brother. In the sources, you might see 2 different dates for marriage, and sometimes it's confusing, but usually the earlier one is the date for the marriage license, and the later date is the actual marriage. This is a marriage record for one of my great-grandparents, John Skaggs and Edna Ennis. Kind of hard to read. They were married on the 11th of March, 1818. There is another date listed, the 21st of December, 1818. I think this is the date they returned the record to prove that they were married. Like I showed in the previous chart and video, most of the states have a month to 3 months that you must be married, or you have to renew for another license to be married. Thankfully, many of these records are indexed, so you don't have to read through everything. When looking at some of these early records, try to look mostly for the names and the dates. Many people have gone through some of these original records, which are so hard to read, and they've created alphabetical lists of the marriages. Many of these lists are in book format, and they have copyrights, so they cannot be digitized and put online. Many of these can be found in libraries and repositories. If you find a book you're interested in, you can use WorldCat to see if a library near you has this book. And occasionally some of these books are online. This is an example of a marriage book I purchased through the Clearfield County Historical Society many years ago. So you can always write to the historical societies of the county, and many times they have these types of books. Here is WorldCat. I want to show you a little bit about finding marriage records on this. So I have typed in marriages, Pennsylvania, Virginia, search everything. And the first record that comes up says marriages of Pennsylvania County, Virginia, 1806 to 1830. And I click on that, and it gives me down here libraries that have this book. And notice this is Euless Public Library, and it's 16 miles away from where I live. I have my location here, so if you're traveling, find the area code. And Dallas Library also has it. Plano Library has it. So these are all within driving distance for me, especially the one in Euless. So WorldCat can be very helpful in finding it. Now, if you're traveling somewhere else, especially maybe to Utah, and you want to find out if the Family History Library up there has it, you can search their catalog, or you can search WorldCat. Now, I wanted to show you here on Family Search, they have a books section. We're on the search books, and I am going to put in Clearfield. Well, no, let's do Clearfield, Pennsylvania. See if I can spell it correctly. And do marriages. And let's see if we find anything. Now on this, you see we don't find marriages, but we actually find books about the Hartsfeld family. And there's probably information on marriages on their family. And here's one of Abraham Spencer of Clearfield County. So you may not find the actual marriage book, but you can find other books that might have marriages in them if you happen to be related to some of those people. But you can always try and see what you can find on their book section. There are many other types of records besides marriage records that can help you at least identify husband and wife. I will show you examples of some of those types of records in Part 2 of Marriage and Government Records. Some of the types of records you might find spouses on will be on death records, wills, deeds, and many others. See you in the next video. Happy hunting!